Welcome to Professionally Speaking TV. I'm Randall Craig, your host, and today we are joined by Debra Joy Eklove. Debra is the president of the Art of Living Foundation Canada, and we're pleased to have her in the studio with us today. Debra, what is the Art of Living Foundation?
I'm glad you asked. Thank you. The Art of Living Foundation is a multifaceted international humanitarian and educational organization. We've been active for 30 years. And we're active in about 153 countries right now.
In Canada, where you're responsible for, how long has the organization been around?
We began in Canada in '86, so about 25 years, I think that is.
And you've not been with them the entire time, have you?
No, I haven't. No. I have actually began with the Art of Living in 2002, and it's been a wonderful journey.
2002. Wow, that's 10 years now.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So give me some examples of the humanitarian initiatives that are happening.
Well, there are initiatives that are happening all over the world as well as in Canada. In terms of the humanitarian work that we do, the Art of Living does a lot of work with people who've gone through trauma, with people who are dealing with difficult times in their lives. The aim of the organization is to uplift humanity and bring peace. And so we do that person by person, but that means the family, that means society, that means the community is all affected, because we know if one person is peaceful, the whole world is that way as well.
Now that's a very wide mandate.
Yes,
indeed.
it is.
How do you measure success?
Well, we measure success by smiles in some ways. Now,
The smile index.
The smile index partially, by recognizing, by seeing people succeed, and by people having the resources and the confidence and the desire to contribute back to their community. Because everybody really wants to contribute, but I think it's the stress, or it's the lack of awareness, or it's something difficult that we're going through ourselves that stops us from reaching out and contributing to the communities we belong to.
Now, the organization itself was founded, a number of years ago now, you mentioned, by Sri Sri Ravi Shankar.
Yes.
Okay, how did the organization come to be?
Well, it came to be, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar was recognized very early on in his life as having a special spiritual quality. He's a man from India. He was born in 1956. And it came about at a time when he recognized and what came to him is a special process called Sudarshan Kriya, which is a breathing process. Su means proper, darshan means vision, and Kriya is a joyous action. So through a rhythmic breathing process, one can get a view of what really goes on.
Okay.
You know, in
it
terms
goes
of
on inside of yourself, you're talking about?
what's really happening, yeah. You know, the one thing that we pay very little attention to is our breath, right? You know, we pay attention to it when we run for the bus. We pay attention to it. Maybe at times we realize we've stopped breathing if we get frightened or something. But breath is essential to everything and to every person.
Okay, so this special breathing, I've breathed all my life.
Yes, you have. I'm glad to hear that.
And so have all of our viewers. What is the special breathing? Can you help teach us?
I can teach you in the programs that we run. At this time, I think what we talk with...
Can we have an example of it?
An example of the breathing, do you like ice cream?
Sure, who doesn't?
Who doesn't, right. You know ice cream because you've done it yourself, right? Somebody talking about it isn't necessarily going to give you the full flavor of what it is. And so in the Art of Living, we recognize that every individual has a unique experience, and we want very much for that experience to be the best it can be. And so in terms of teaching the various breathing processes that go on, I think what I'd like to say is for people to realize that every single emotion has a different breathing pattern.
Okay.
You know, when you're sad, it'll be heavy. When you're frightened, you stop breathing. And when you're happy, it's very light. Normally what happens is our breath is affected by our emotions. In the Art of Living, we reverse that. There are various breathing processes that we do, recognizing that if you use your breath in a certain way, you can affect your emotions. And if you use your breath in a certain way, you're keeping your energy high. You know, we live in a very dynamic society. We live in an environment where you need high energy. So the Art of Living does a variety of things in our multifaceted ways to make sure people have the tools to keep the energy high.
Okay.
And breathing does that.
Interesting. So if we took one type of breathing, you know, the breathing of being happier.
Right.
Okay. Is there a way we can give our viewers a bit of a taste of what that is? I'm happy to be the guinea pig for a few minutes anyway. But are there a few rudiments that we can give people a little bit of a taste of the ice cream?
Okay. Well, I mean, the difference is breathe very fast.
Like right now?
Yeah, if you're going to do it, just now breathe very slow.
Okay. Breathing slowly.
That's a rudiment. The breathing slower enlivens the body more.
Okay, and that gives more happiness, or that just gives more energy?
Well, every individual may have a different answer to that question, and that's the experience that people will have to then figure it out and see for themselves. The other thing is, most of the time, and I noticed with you when you were breathing in different parts of your body. Most people breathe very shallow because stress does that to us. We breathe up here. So if you can get your body to breathe in 3 different locations, below the belly button, the stomach area, and the upper chest, and do that in a rhythmic way, you're then using more capacity, and then you're enlivening the body, enlivening the mind, enlivening the emotions and thoughts.
Now, interesting, if you look at infants, they're lying down there. They're breathing from the lower belly. They're not breathing from up here, etc. And then all of a sudden, at a certain point, I don't know when it is, people tend to breathe from very, very high. Why does that happen?
Well, I think it's because of the stress. First of all, we've never really been taught to breathe, though we do it all the time. We've never been told this is the best way for your body to breathe, unless you live in a culture which values that. You know.
So do little kids or babies forget, or are they untaught? Or are they? I mean,
I think what happens is stress affects people in different ways, and when you're stressed or tense, you stop breathing and you go very shallow. And so that's what's happening in different ways, is the capacities change, and the experiences people have affect their breathing. But if you go back to a full rhythmic breathing, you can then change the impact of memory on you, and instead of oscillating from past to present. You know what we say very much, if you notice your mind is usually in the past, thinking what you did, possibly frustrated by something, because we remember something that should have happened, that we would have liked to have happened, or in the future, planning, anxious about what's going to happen, right? You don't breathe in either places. You breathe in the present moment. And if you're in the present moment centered here, the mind oscillation back and forth, the stress that causes in the body diminishes. And so when you concentrate on breathing, you're in the present moment.
So this is Sri Sri's fundamental call to action, breathing. There's probably a bit more to it than that.
Yes, there is actually. His fundamental call to action is a stress-free, violence-free society. And he is well known worldwide for his work as an emissary of peace. And he travels the globe annually, visiting countries and being invited to countries to speak with dignitaries, to speak with politicians, to speak with the lay people, and talk about and show, and so that they can experience how it is, the tools that we actually have that can accomplish that.
Interesting. So what else is part of his philosophy?
His philosophy is that everybody is a loving person. Everybody, and whatever we do comes back to our actual love of something. I mean, what he would say is love isn't emotion, it's who we are. And so by recognizing that, and by getting rid of the stress and increasing the awareness of what is going on, we can be happy, productive, contributing members of our societies, where we share and we belong, and we celebrate life together.
Okay. Now, to actualize that, the foundation teaches courses.
And we do the service projects, yes.
And you do service projects. In
Yes.
Canada, what are some of the service projects that you've done?
Great, thank you. You'd asked that before, and we went on a tangent.
Yeah, that's why I got back to
I'm
it.
glad you did. I was going to as well. We've done some wonderful work with a community, in the Witomisi community in northern Quebec. Members have been part of the organization, and we've had some wonderful volunteers. The Art of Living is an organization, it's the largest volunteer-based organization. And we had volunteers who've gone and worked with the people in the community. Last year we had one of our people from the organic garden go up to the reserve and set up an organic garden for the kids, which they loved. And learning about certain vegetables and ways of growing. In fact, it was so successful that the adults also loved it, because once the vegetables were grown, they had to learn then how to cook some of them, some things that were different. And there's a lot of enjoyment and celebration in that way. Members of that community actually also joined the Art of Living in Berlin in July past year, where the organization, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of the Art of Living. People came from all over the world, and there was a great celebration in Berlin, and the Aboriginal community from Canada was one of the honored performers at that event.
Very, very interesting.
Yes, it is.
Talk to me about some of the courses. Breathing is probably one of the courses.
Well, actually, we have a variety of courses that teach people the skills of breathing, yoga, meditation, and a lot of knowledge about how to stay centered and how to be the best we can be. Our programs are sometimes customized for people with physical ailments. We do programs in prisons and work with prisoners, and have had great success in giving people who are incarcerated skills to overcome the emotional turmoil they may be in and want to contribute. We also, which I'm very excited about, we have programs for the corporate world. Stress is part of the corporate world, very much so. And to be a good performer, you have to be able to manage your stress, stay high energy, be a good communicator, good leadership or management skills. And the programs that we do achieve those ends in corporations. We've worked with some of the largest corporations worldwide, and the program is just coming to Canada. It's called Apex, the Apex course, and it's very exciting, the responses we've had both with the government and private sector with this program.
Interesting. Now, you also teach cooking.
I do.
Now, this is Ayurveda cooking?
That's right, yes.
Okay, what is Ayurveda?
Ayurveda means the science of life.
Okay.
The Vedas are ancient teachings, and within these ancient teachings, there's a lot of wisdom. In fact, yoga, which is very popular now, is based in the Vedas. It's an ancient understanding of the union of mind, body, and spirit, and it uses the body, it keeps the body healthy. Ayurveda, the part that I do a lot with, recognizes food as an important part of energy. What we talk about in the Art of Living, as I said before, is energy.
Yes.
Is what needs to be high. There's 4 sources of energy that we all have. There's sleep and exercise, there's food, there's uplifting company, and there's breath. Right? So the Ayurveda fits in with making sure that people eat the proper food. What Ayurveda recognizes is the whole world is made up of 5 elements. Nothing more, nothing left.
This
less.
is air, space, fire, water, and earth.
Very nice, thank you, yes.
Okay.
And we are all part of nature. So we ourselves, both physically and in our mind, consciously, are made up those elements as well. When we understand what our constitution is, and we understand the qualities of the things around us, be it food or lifestyle, we can make sure that that matches so the balance is there for the best outcome. Example,
Sure.
On a hot, sunny day, there's a lot of fire, right? So if you're in a situation that may be frustrating, you may have more fire in your system. You may get more angry. You may get a little bit hot under the collar because the environment is hot. What can you do to antidote it? Or how can you use that energy in a positive way, as opposed to exploding on somebody who's not doing what you think they should be doing, or how to use that in a charismatic way, because charisma also has a lot of fire in it. So it really, when I got into it, and I had no idea the wealth that's there, and I just find it a fascinating way of looking at the world. Ayurveda actually is also a medical system,
Okay.
which is recognized by the World Health Organization. Training to be an Ayurveda doctor is as intense as an allopathic, a Western doctor. In fact, many of them train in both. And it's recognized by the World Health Organization. As a medical approach, Ayurveda treats billions of people.
Interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
What's the science behind it? I mean, you know, if you speak to a Western doctor, they'll say, well, one second, is there real science behind whether this actually does it?
Well, there is science, and as all the alternative or complementary therapies are undergoing more rigorous examination now, it's recognized that to be accepted in Canada and the States, evidence-based medicine is important. And so there are many studies, research that has been done to actualize, to understand, for people to understand how important it is. A simple thing that, you know, in terms of diet, turmeric is a spice that's being talked about as being very healthy. Ayurveda has known that for eons. So there's various things in Ayurveda. Also, what you eat is very important. The herbs and the spices are very important. So
what should I be staying away from, according to Ayurvedic cooking and medicine?
okay, in Ayurveda, you want to eat food which has high life force energy in it. So it fits in very well with eating locally, because the closer you're eating your produce from the time of picking, the more life force energy that's going to be in it. You want to eat things that are fresh, not stale. You want things that have, again, life force energy, eating things that are fresh. The other thing is having stuff which is in particular good for you. Everybody may have a little bit of a variation, like a soup, for instance. Some people prefer it chunky, some people prefer it smooth. Some people prefer it with a little heat in it, some people with a little cream in it. So those are specific to your constitution, and that as an Ayurvedic therapist or consultant can let you know what would work for you. But it's also to be aware that, you know, if the person you're with or the children don't like the soup chunky, puree it. They may like it that way. So you're still getting the goodness of the food, but the presentation may make it more amenable.
Okay, so it's not stay away from this kind, spend more time eating this kind. It's, I mean, other than stuff that's stale and old, stay away from.
Well, it's also, I mean, in terms of Ayurveda, the preferred diet is vegetarian. Because if you look at the physical body, it's really more geared for a vegetarian diet. Animals who are carnivores have a very short gut, and as humans we have a very long gut. And if the gut is long, that means the food takes more time to go through the system and would petrify. Petrify too, probably. And also in terms of the teeth, our canine teeth are not that developed. We have them a little bit, but not as much as a meat-eating animal. And in terms of Ayurveda, which is a science of truth, it is an approach which honors peace, and so things that will enhance that quality in people is part of Ayurveda.
Yeah.
No, we are what we eat, so
We should eat good things.
that's right.
So eating things with lots of life force in them, and I know that some cultural beliefs will not eat root vegetables, for example,
That's right, yes.
because when you do that, it's not good.
That's right.
Is that an Ayurvedic thought, or do Ayurvedic diets include root vegetables, for example?
Ayurveda can include root vegetables, for sure. I think there are principles in Ayurveda about how we are in the world, and those principles can be applied to every culture. When I teach cooking, which I do, though the source of Ayurveda is from the Indian culture, it's not only Indian cooking that I do, because one can apply the principles to all cuisines so that one can still benefit from the knowledge.
Even though Indian food is actually tremendously tasty.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We're with Debra Joy Eklove, who's the president of the Art of Living Foundation on Professionally Speaking TV. I'm Randall Craig. Right after the break, we'll dive a little bit deeper into the Art of Living Foundation and some of the courses and some of the philosophy. Back in a second. We're back on Professionally Speaking TV. I'm Randall Craig, your host, and we're back with Debra Joy Eklove, who's the president of the Art of Living Foundation in Canada. Just before the break, we were talking about, all kinds of different things. We were talking about some of the programs. We were talking about the philosophy. We were talking about Ayurvedic medicine. We were talking about Ayurvedic cooking. We were talking about the philosophy of Sri Sri. I have to ask you a question, though. When does this philosophy become a religion?
It's an interesting question, because the art of living has at times been thought of like a religion, but it's a spiritual approach to life. There's a very big difference between spirit and religion.
How so?
Well,
there's a set of principles that clearly, if you buy into the concepts, you're living a particular way. You're giving honor to the founder, obviously, very,
Sure.
And you've got an international organization that supports it. Where's the dividing line, or is there?
Well, it's very different. A religion, in my understanding, has certain rites and rituals and certain specific things that people have to do in terms of what they do. A spiritual, and every religion has a spiritual component, and every person is spiritual. In the art of living, there's no requirement to do anything that is in terms of rites or rituals. In the art of living, we teach you skills that will help you become probably more spiritual, and then you can take that and apply it however you want. I know many people who've done the Art of Living program, and afterwards they've embraced their own religious traditions more fully in different ways. So it is something that is
complementary?
Very complementary. In the 1990s, I was involved in spirituality in the workplace, which was a movement which is a bit more active now, but it's to recognize that the word spirituality also means ethics. So it's how you are. It's those human values that we all cherish, of friendliness and caring, compassion, and reaching out to help somebody, and that every tradition does. The art of living is for people of all backgrounds, all traditions, all religions, all cultures.
How many people in Canada have attended an Art of Living course or are signed up in some way?
People come and go and do the courses, so I don't really have a specific number that would be the numbers of people who have done, but it's thousands of people. Thousands of people in Canada have done the program, and then they decide if they want to do more of the courses that we offer, or they've done the program and they just use the tools if they find them valuable and move on in their lives.
How, when you've got such a strong leader, and you've got such a momentum in a particular direction, how do you collect, how does the organization collect feedback from the fringes? How, for example, do each of the many countries in which the foundation operates feed back to the center and say, well, we are hearing down on the ground such and such. Here's our feedback for where the future direction should be? Or is it truly just a one-way direction?
It goes both ways. There's always a two-way communication. If you go to the website artofliving.org, it is a website that is for every country that is a member of the organization. It's one place that has all the information. And if you click on a country, you can see what's happening there.
But how, for example, does Sri Sri take into account the experience that somebody, for example, in the United States or in Vietnam or whatever, how does that feedback go the other way?
It goes the other way, either directly, in that people can write to him, or through the teachers, or through the associations in each country, seeing what the needs are. For instance, if there's, as an example, the work that we've done with the Aboriginal community, you know, it was recognized that there was a need. There were people who came forward asking for involvement with us, and at that point, it was recognized that this is a good project that we would do. So it works both ways.
Now, the actual autonomy that you have in Canada is how much? Like, for example, the Aboriginal program, an amazing initiative, by the way. Is that something that you're able to do on your own here and say, by the way, we're doing it? Or is this the kind of thing that before the foundation's name can be put on a program has got to be franked by the people centrally?
It's a good question in that the service projects that we do, in the recent years, we concentrated our service projects to be in sync with the Millennium Goals of the United Nations. In 2000, Sri was a speaker at the United Nations for the Millennium Project, and there are 8 major goals that the United Nations has in terms of alleviating, some of them are alleviating poverty, sustainable growth, the environmental sustainability, empowerment of women and girls. So a lot of our projects, when they're in those areas, we let it be known that that's what we're doing and that's what we want to be doing. And then, like any organization, though, there is a recognition that there's priorities of projects, and through the international organization, we do receive feedback of, yes, go forward with this or not.
Is each country's funding locally driven, or is it driven is it funded from abroad?
It's local, actually. It's course projects and grants and fundraising initiatives that we do here that allow us to offer the programs both for a fee when people can do it, but we also have some initiatives. We have a breath, water, sound program, which is offered to people in low income or in environments where they're new immigrants and they need the program. So we do things both in terms of course revenue as a funding source, and then that also lets us do other projects as well, which are not funded by the individual, but will be from donors, from grants, from other sources.
Are you government funded or foundation funded? Do you actually receive some of your funding from government at this point?
We have the aim to get some government grants. We haven't done that yet. Yeah.
So if you don't do your job as president doing the fundraising, all of these programs suddenly take a step down in terms of scale and impact.
Well, the thing is that the educational programs that we do are ongoing. As I mentioned, our teachers are volunteers, so that it depends on their time availability and the setting up of courses, and that is always ongoing. In terms of the service projects, those will vary also because they may be run by volunteers, and we've had some in various times that have gone on for a while. We have one in Mississauga where the city of Mississauga has actually given certificates to the Art of Living because we're very involved in tree planting and the sustainability of the parks there. So we have a variety of projects.
So you've been around doing this for a decade. There must have been dozens and dozens and dozens of projects over the years. What's the one that you're most proud of?
I've actually been in this position only 2 years, though I've been involved in the organization longer. But what I'm...
So in the last 2 years and in your memory since your organization...
Yeah, actually...
what is it?
What I'm really excited about and want to do much more of is the empowerment of women. We've recently, for 5 years, we've had international conferences empowering women from all over the globe, and we've recently had a program on women in technology where it was a 3-day conference in India that women came from over 100 countries and speaking about women in technology. You know, women are so much recognized as the glue in the family and being able to network in certain ways. And technology, technology makes us a global village, but we also say spirituality makes us a global family. and women are very instrumental in developing family. So I'm very excited and proud about that project, and I look forward to bringing more of it to Canada so that the women in Canada can be part of using the inner technology and the outer technology.
The inner technology, what an interesting term.
Meditation.
Meditation.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't talked about meditation yet, but I'd like to. That's a great segue too.
Yeah.
What do you mean by, what's meditation in the Art of Living Foundation's? There's so many different types of meditation.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
In the Art of Living, we offer a program called Sahaj Samadhi, which is a meditation. It's an easy meditation, actually. Very often people think meditation means to concentrate or to stare at a candle, and these are various tools and techniques of meditation. With the Art of Living, it really is a mantra, a seed word that is part of our meditation process. But meditation is not thinking. See, in life, everything takes an effort. Anything physical takes an effort. If you eat, there's a lot of effort. If you walk, there's a lot of effort. The mind is the reverse. If you try to effort with the mind, what happens? You can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I say to you, think of anything except for a monkey with a red tail.
That's what's on your mind.
That's what's on your mind. So when it comes to meditation, when it comes to the mind, effortlessness happens. You know, when you're going to sleep, if you say, I need to sleep, I need to sleep, I need it, you're never going to. But if you just let it happen. So meditation is a process that allows the mind to relax, and in that relaxation, energy comes back. It's not, and afterwards, meditation is thought of as a rest deeper than sleep. 20 minutes of meditation could be like 4 hours of sleep.
So one of the things that was very, very popular decades and decades ago was transcendental meditation. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're talking about? Or is that a different thing altogether?
It's a different thing. It's not meditation that we do. Many people who have done transcendental meditation have also done the programs with the Art of Living and found them very helpful.
What is transcendental meditation?
I never did it.
Okay. Okay. We're with Debra Joy Eklove. We're from the Art of Living Foundation. We're talking about meditation. We're talking about some of the other programs. We'll be back right after the break. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the interesting things that the foundation is up to here in the country. Back in a second. We're back on Professionally Speaking TV. I'm Randall Craig, your host, with Debra Joy Eklove of the Art of Living Foundation. Just before the break, we were talking about meditation. Now, we'll talk about something else, which is kind of like meditation or not. You mentioned one of the programs that you do is yoga.
Yes.
Okay, how does this fit in?
Yoga fits in, well, we talk about there being 7 levels of being. The body, the breath, the mind, the intellect, the memory, the ego, and the self. Those are 7 levels, and each of those levels have a certain quality, a certain way of being. Body being the first is we have to take care of the body. Yoga takes care of the body. Yoga means the union of mind, body, and spirit, mind, body, and consciousness. And when the body is fit and relaxed, there's more energy, and there's more focus, and there's more productivity.
Okay. So there's a whole bunch of different types of yoga that are taught. Which type do you guys teach?
The Sri Sri Yoga that we teach has it's a yoga which is very easy to do, has some flow in it. And just to say also, there's really only one yoga, but people have looked at different aspects of it. It's like when there's a wheel, there's a center, and then there's a wheel outside of it. And there's different spokes that all come to the same center. So whether it's Hatha or Ashtanga, whatever name people have given it, they're concentrating on one aspect of yoga. So everybody's just looking at it a little bit differently. We do it in a way which has a lot of flow and a lot of relaxation in it. It's a beautiful process. It's a beautiful process of mind, body, spirit integration.
So it's a little bit of all the different other styles, or is it his own sort of spoke, if you will?
It's a combination. It's a way of using and bringing the knowledge of yoga and the knowledge behind the action into the awareness and consciousness of people.
Okay. So here we have exercise, we've got eating, we've got medicine, we've got community service projects,
Right.
We've got breathing. Okay, what else is there?
What else is there?
Like this is pretty all-encompassing, isn't it?
It's a multifaceted organization because people are multifaceted. It's an organization, it's the art of living. So everybody has talents and skills that they want to contribute. There are many, many different projects. When there have been catastrophes in the world, the art of living has been there to help out. We recognize it's a one world family. And in families, we want to nurture all the talents, all the skills, all the interests that are going to be a positive influence.
Now this is an Indian-based organization.
It started in India. It's all over the world. Yeah.
Is the language of Shri Shri around the world, is it English now or is it Hindi? Is that you just in our interview you've used quite a bit of different Hindi words. I presume it's Hindi words.
Sanskrit, actually.
Sanskrit words, etc. Do you need to understand that language to do all of this?
Not at all. No, not at all. And in fact, the languages around the world, people from all over the world are doing these programs, and sometimes we'll call some of the breathings have English names as well. I just felt comfortable using the Sanskrit because Sanskrit is a very ancient language, which itself, like all the ancient languages of Egyptian and Chinese and Hebrew, they have a lot of power in the words themselves. So the art of living is English in Canada, English and French actually. We have a lovely community in Quebec as well, and we honor the traditions of people.
How many centers across the country do you have?
We have 4 centers. One in Quebec is the International Center, which is on 200 acres of beautiful wooded parkland. And it's a retreat center, and we hold programs there regularly. Shri Shri comes and visits there regularly, and it's a lovely place for people to come and be nurtured. Wonderful vegetarian food is available. We have an Ayurveda center. People can come and get treatments. Because I didn't mention that a part of the Ayurveda tradition are massages and treatments for the body as well. So that's one of our centers that I invite everybody to come to.
And then you've got one in Mississauga, and you've got another in Brampton.
And one in Montreal.
And one in Montreal.
And we have other areas where we don't have necessarily a center specifically, but we have teachers all across the country who will take courses into community centers or schools. We have programs that run for people from age 8 and up. We have programs for students that help them deal with the issues of being a student. In fact, we go into the schools. We have a program called YES, Youth Empowerment Seminar, where we actually go in and work with the students and the teachers so that they have the skills to help overcome the stress of being a student today, and also to become very focused and concentrate and become leaders of their communities.
Now, being the president of this foundation, there's an awful lot of arms and legs, a lot going on.
Yeah.
What are your biggest challenges? What's the biggest challenge, the 2 top challenges in running the organization?
It's 2 top challenges. Well, I think in every organization's communications, making sure the messages get out and the messages come back in. So we have networks across the country that people talk to in the local areas. People can get their information and their needs addressed to us. And another major part is getting the information out about the organization to the general public. Now most of what we've done is word of mouth. So I appreciate opportunities to talk about the program because it's relatively new in Canada. In other countries, for instance Mongolia, 60% of the population have done the Art of Living programs. Obviously in India and in parts of Asia, it's very well known. In Canada, it's still relatively new. And I would say that the challenge is for people to look past that it comes from India and to see how relevant it is to their own lives. We all eat Italian food, but we're all not Italian.
Interesting. Now, for you, I think you're a little bit more than a president. You're clearly an acolyte at the same time. And at a certain point, you know, when did the switch flip and said, yeah, this is it for me?
I think it was slow. I think it's also because of the things that I've done and I've also always cherished in my life. I found very much that the Art of Living as an organization offers it. Before I was in the Art of Living, I would run circles for people for peace. And so recognizing an organization that values peace is vital and works with me. As you know also, I sing. And celebration and singing is something that people do all over the world. I guess I'm a student of the world, and I love the opportunity to be able to interact and learn from everybody.
So Sri Sri Ravi Shankar was here today, and he will probably see this interview at some point. What would his words to you be?
Keep smiling.
There we go.
That's what he was.
Very good. So once again, you know, thank you very much, Debra, for joining us. If people want to find out a little bit more, they can go to go to your website, which is the Art of Living, theartofliving.com, and that's got all kinds of stuff on the courses and the cooking, and a little bit about what Ayurveda actually is, a little bit more than we can talk about here.
It's also artofliving.org.
Artofliving.org, I'm sorry, artofliving.org, so that's what. Our website, which is www.professionallyspeakingtv.com, has got all of our archive of hundreds of interviews, plus what's coming up next in the next number of weeks. This is Randall Craig. Thank you for joining us, and if you want to make a difference, first you've got to do it professionally, and Shri Shri, thank you, with a smile. See you next week.